Hi, and welcome to Java Programming Skills using Replit. I'm Norman McIntyre. Let's get started. So here we're going to look at Main.java. This will be our first look at the Main.java code explored a little bit. So let's get started. So here we are in our Replit environment, and we have our default Hello World application that you build by default, just like we did in the previous video. Click on Run. Of course, it compiles it. So the Java compiler compiles it, the Java virtual machine runs it, and we see the Hello World. So your first observation is that all the code you write will be inside of a class. So in Java, everything is inside of a class. And you can see on line number 1, the class begins and the class ends. In fact, I'm going to come here and put 2 forward slashes and say all Java code is inside of a class. The class will combine both code and data inside of that. This is a comment. We can do a single, this is what's called a single line comment in Java. We can also have multiple line comments. Multiple line comment. And the thing here is it begins with the slash star and it keeps doing comments until you have a star slash. Now the comments are ignored by the Java compiler. The compiler is compiling your code and it ignores those comments. So you can put them there for notes to yourself as needed. Now when we compile this, I want you to observe what happens if I accidentally misspell class. Let's say I put 3 S's instead of 2 and I click on Run. Notice we have an error, and this is called a syntax error. A syntax error. In other words, the syntax that we wrote, the letters, the text, the words that we wrote, do not match what the Java language was expecting. Now the good thing for us is when we have a syntax error, it tells us the file name that the error is on, also shows us the line number. So we know sure enough at line number 5 we had an error. Within this REPL environment, it even tells us we have an error before we clicked on build because you can see this red underline. The red underline is telling you, in fact, notice how it pops up. It says syntax error. Syntax error. So we typed something wrong. So I'll go ahead and put it back to how it was. The reason I wanted to point that out early is that as software developers, you'll see a lot of syntax errors. And just stay cool because on the output it'll show you what's expected. In fact, let's give another syntax error. Let's remove a semicolon. At the end of every executable statement, the language says you should put a semicolon. Well, for the purpose of this demonstration, I've removed that semicolon. Notice I have the little red squiggly line, and in fact, when I position my cursor, it says syntax error. You need to insert a semicolon to complete the statement. But I click on Run, and sure enough, it says if you go to line number 7, there's an error. I was expecting a semicolon. So a lot of times, it'll give you a pointer to right where the error was at, and you can take care of that. Now, we haven't learned much about the Java language at this point, but you can often learn just by observing patterns. So we see, gosh, by doing this thing called System.out.println, I'll say hello Java. You can see that this must be the way we can get output coming to the screen. And in fact, we can do that now. We see hello world and hello Java coming to the screen. If we misspell something, for example, if I say type system in all caps because Java is a case sensitive language, if here I put all caps, suddenly we've got an error. It says, hey, system cannot be resolved. That is, it doesn't know what that is. It knew what system was, but it didn't know with the all uppercase. And of course, now when we run, we've got that. Now, all Java programs have to begin somewhere, and where they begin is with a method called main. We'll talk a lot more about methods, but right now main is where we begin execution. In fact, let me misspell this. Let me put, say, an X in front of main and click on run. And notice the error. It says error. Now this is not a syntax error. This is a different kind of error because it says error main method not found. Main method not found. Please define the main method, and they even show you how to define it right here. So it's giving us the error, and notice it didn't give us a line number because it's not a syntax error. Here we accidentally, by renaming main, it could not find that, and if it cannot find it, your program cannot start executing. So here we put that back, and it says now I know where to execute at. So we've got coming into here. Okay, now we said that all Java code is inside of a class. In this case, it's called main. It begins here where the opening curly brace is, and it ends here where the closing curly brace. So that's our class. Inside of the class, you can have one or more methods. Methods is executing code, and in fact here we're seeing line number 7, we're executing a line of code that says hello world. Line number 8, we're executing another line of code that says hello Java. We can also do System.out. Instead of saying print line, which says print a line, we could just say print, and let's say 1. So let's print 1, and then let's do System.out. How about let's say print a space, and then let's say System.out.println, or we'll say print 2, and then maybe System.out.println, or we'll just say print line. So here we're printing out a line. Here we're just printing out without putting a line. And basically what happens, it puts what's called a new line character at the end of this. So here I'll click on run. And now we see, oh, we've got hello world, hello world. We've got 1, a space, and a 2, and then a new line character. And we see we've got it going like that. So the purpose of this particular video is to know that when you write Java code, it'll always be inside the name of a class. For right now, we're just calling it the main class. You will always have at least a method called main. You can ignore all of this for right now. We're just going to focus on the name. There's other stuff in front of it, but for right now we don't care. And you've learned to do the System.out.println as a way you can send output to the screen either with a new line at the end, or you can leave off the new line as needed. Now, as you're going through these videos, make sure you type in this code and run it just like I do. And go ahead and experiment some. For example, experiment with leaving a semicolon off and saying, yep, it does show you you've got an error on line number 11. So it tells you what it is. And just get familiar with those concepts of syntax errors, because you'll have a lot of those as you're going through the code. All right, this is probably a good stopping point on this one. Make sure you can run your code and have everything as it is here. So thanks for making it this far in the video. There's still more to come in the next video. I'm Norman McIntyre. Thanks as always for watching.